အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့နည်းနည်းစောစောလေးပဲစလိုက်ပါမယ်ဆရာမလည်းအချိန်လေးဟိုပြောရမှာလေးတွေကလည်းအချိန်လေးကလည်းလောက်ချင်မှလောက်မှာဆိုတော့လေကျွန်တော်နည်းနည်းလေးပဲစပြီးတော့မိတ်ဆက်ထားလိုက်မယ်ပြီးသွားလို့ရှိရင်ဆရာဘက်ကိုပေးလိုက်မယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်နာမည်ကတော့အောင်မင်းသိန်းပါ counseling corner ရဲ့ founder therapist တယောက်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲ့တော့ဒီနေ့မှာခုနကလည်းကျွန်တော်ရည်ရွယ်ချက်လေးကိုပြောလိုက်ပြီပေါ့နော်ရည်ရွယ်ချက်ကတော့ thank you Ben I'm on the spotlight now I forget to mention about it.
I figured it out.
So ဒီနေ့မှာတော့ကျွန်တော်ကဟိုအားလုံးကိုဒီလိုလေးတွေ့ပြီးတော့စုံလဲစုံရမယ်တွေ့လဲတွေ့ချင်တဲ့ဆိုရရွေးချက်တစ်ခုရယ်နောက်တစ်ခုကကျတော့ကျွန်တော်ခုနကပြောသွားသလိုပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ counselor တွေ therapist တွေမှာအခု crisis အချိန်မှာလူတွေကိုလုပ်တဲ့အခါမှာလူတွေကို healing တွေလုပ်ပေးနေတဲ့အခါမှာကူညီပေးနေတဲ့အခါမှာတချို့ technique တွေကိုသုံးတာတွေရှိတယ်မသုံးတာတွေရှိတယ်များသောအားဖြင့်ကတော့ဒါလေးတွေကတော့သိပြီးသားပါဒါပေမဲ့လည်းဆရာကတော့ဒါထပ်ပြီးတော့ reflect ပြန်လုပ်ပေးတဲ့အနေနဲ့ crisis အချိန်မှာဒီလို intervention လေးတွေလုပ်ရင်ကောင်းပါတယ်ဒါလေးတွေကတော့လုပ်သင့်ပါတယ်ဆိုတဲ့ဟာကိုအပြန်အလှန်ဆွေးနွေးမှုတွေ group work တွေနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့လုပ်သွားမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲ့တော့ဆရာဘက်ကိုမိတ်မဆက်ပေးခင်မှာတော့ကျွန်တော်ကနည်းနည်းလေး counseling corner လုပ်နေတဲ့ activity တွေလေးကိုပြောချင်တယ် counseling corner ရဲ့ activities တွေကတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒါအားလုံးသိတဲ့အတိုင်းပါပဲ individual counseling တွေcouple family group ဒါတွေရှိတယ်လို့ training တွေရှိတယ် workshops တွေရှိတယ်နောက် research program တွေရှိတယ် advocacy တွေဒါတွေလုပ်နေတယ်အဲ့ဒီထဲမှာ including ကျွန်တော်တို့ trainees တွေအတွက်advance ပြီးသွားတဲ့လူတွေအတွက်ကျွန်တော်တို့က ongoing professional development အနေနဲ့တောက်လျှောက်လုပ်ပေးနေတာတွေရှိတယ် alumni group တွေလုပ်ထားပေးတယ်အဲ့ဒီ group တွေထဲမှာ need assessment အနေနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့လိုအပ်တဲ့သင်တန်းလေးတွေကိုအခုလိုပဲ international national ကtrain expertise တွေခေါ်ပြီးတော့ဒီလိုမျိုးလေးတွေလုပ်ပေးနေတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့နောက် program တစ်ခုလေးကတော့အခုလက်လောမှာ ACA နဲ့ MOU လေးရထားတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီ MOU အောက်မှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တို့ကဒီကျွန်တော်တို့မြန်မာပြည်က counselor တွေကိုတို့က training ပေးမယ်နောက် credential ပေးမယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီသဘောတူညီမှုလေးတွေလည်းပါပါတယ်အဲ့တော့ဒါလေးတွေကိုလည်းစိတ်ဝင်စားရဲဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုပြောထားပေးပါကျွန်တော်ဒါကကျတော့ counseling corner ရဲ့ alumni မှာမဟုတ်ဘူးပေါ့နော်ဒီ community မှာလုပ်နေတဲ့ counselor တွေကိုသူတို့test လေးတွေစစ်ပေးမယ်ပြီးလို့ရှိရင် credential အနေနဲ့လုပ်လို့ရတဲ့program လေးတွေရှိလာမယ်ပေါ့ဒါလေးတွေကိုလည်းgood news အနေနဲ့ပြောထားခြင်းပါတယ်အဲ့တော့အခုဆရာဘန်းကိုမိတ်ဆက်ပေးပါမယ်ဒေါက်တာဘန်ဝင်းစတိန်မှာ psychologist clinical psychologist ဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲ့တော့ဒီနေ့မှာတော့ဆရာသူ့အကြောင်းလေးကိုရှင်းပြပြီးတော့ဒီသင်တန်းနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဘယ်လိုပုံစံမျိုးလေးနဲ့ဆရာ present လုပ်သွားမယ်ရှင်းပြပေးမယ်ဆိုတဲ့ဟာလေးကိုပြောပြပေးသွားပါလိမ့်မယ်အဲ့တော့ yes Ben please explain and introduce to yourself to the floor
Okie dokie hang on. Great. Thank you so much, 𝐤𝐿𝐴. I'm so excited to be here. And I, first of all, would like to thank I'd like to thank 𝐤𝐿𝐴. And I'd like to thank the whole team at Counseling Corner for making this event possible. I'm really pleased to welcome all of you. I guess we should just dive in. It would be so nice to be able to get to know all of you a little bit. But we have so much content that we want to cover, and you will have a chance to interact with each other. You will have a chance to interact with each other and talk to each other. But if you like, please feel free to say hello in the chat. And we're going to have, for this group of people, the people who are actually here in the webinar, we're also going to have a Telegram group so that we can follow up a bit and talk about how you're using the things that we're talking about. Because the genesis of this training is that 𝐤𝐿𝐴 and I were discussing a lot of the resilience training that I do for other groups here in Thailand. And he felt that it would be a very useful training to give to counselors and potentially for counselors to share with their clients. Because as a psychologist, one of the areas that I have worked in is for the last 20 years, I support humanitarian and development workers working in the most stressful places around the world, in conflict zones and in post-disaster zones. So I have supported folks working in Afghanistan, folks working in Iraq, folks working in a variety of locations. And actually, I had the opportunity, I first met 𝐖𝐞𝐛𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐫 when I had the opportunity to work for Save the Children and the Burnett Institute in Myanmar following Hurricane Nargis in 2008, when we were developing programs at that time. Actually, in that time, I was helping to develop a staff wellness program for the 1,500 staff that Save the Children recruited in a matter of weeks as they expanded their operations. So I'm really excited to have the opportunity to be here with you and to share these things with you. I'm managing a bunch of different things here on my screen, so if I seem a little bit distracted, I apologize for that. I am going to share something into the chat for you all. This is a checklist. So I'm just sharing in the chat a document. This document is a checklist of all the skills that, so in the chat box, you can now download that document. It may take a few minutes to reach you wherever you are. You can download that. That's a list of the skills that I'm going to try and share with you. And it's a Word document for those of you, you can open it, you can take notes, and you can note whatever you like about the different skills that we're going to look at. I'm gonna share my screen. And again, oops. All right. So hopefully I'm not in the right place. Okay, so this is hopefully you can see this clearly. So this is a two-part training. And although this is meant to be a training for counselors, professional counselors or lay counselors or people helping other people. So today is part one, where we're going to focus on your personal resilience and on skills that you can use for yourself. We're not going to focus on a clinical application of those skills. And then there's going to be a period of about 3 weeks that for you to go home and practice and have some opportunity using it yourself. Because some of these will be skills that many of you know, I think. Some of them will be new to you. I hope there'll be something new for everybody. And then on March the 30th, we're going to come back, the counselors in the group, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how do we bring this into counseling? What are the different ways we can use this with other people? But it's really important that we have practiced first before we bring this into counseling, especially some of the more complicated things we're going to talk about, like progressive muscle relaxation skills, which is an incredibly effective technique. But if we haven't learned it, it takes a little bit of effort to learn it. But it's not that difficult. But practice makes progress. So our goal for today is to kind of make sure that we all understand the human nervous system and how the human nervous system is reacting when we're in conditions of extreme stress. Because when we understand ourselves, it helps reduce the stress when we understand that our reactions are normal and natural. And then we're going to talk about the resilience skills. For those of you who are counselors, for those of you who are counselors, and I assume pretty much everyone in here is, I'm not here to teach a form of treatment. What I'm going to teach you today is not a treatment package. It's not a form of CBT. It's not a form of therapy for trauma, which are things, as a clinical psychologist, I know those things and I deliver those things and I teach people, I teach psychologists those things. But what we're going to focus on today is meant to be for anyone. Anyone, although they could be particularly useful for counselors. And I hope that you'll have the opportunity eventually, after you have practiced them yourselves, that you will have the opportunity to share them with groups of people in many different forms, that you might share them with clients, and you might share them with your community in other ways, in your own trainings. But this is not something, as you'll see, our treatment packages are meant to treat pathology. They're meant to treat, quote unquote, problems in mental health. Resilience skills are meant to support our strengths as human beings. Resilience skills are not a form of treatment for mental health problems. So I know that some of you might be wondering about that. So I would like to make that point clear. Okay, but now I think it would be nice if you all have a chance to connect with each other a little bit and get to know each other a little bit and share. So we're going to go into breakout rooms, but I'd like for us just to have some agreements. And these are our webinar agreements, that everyone's going to participate actively. As you see, I know I'm talking a lot at the moment, but actually this is an experiential webinar, which means that we're going to practice a whole bunch of skills. And I want to encourage you to participate in the practice as much as feels right for you today. And this recording will be available online for you to review later if you want to go and review a particular skill. But each time you practice, I also want to invite you to reflect and make notes on your practice, just to see what you experience. Because remember, today we're focusing on your personal experience of these skills. Although please remember that no one's required to share. We want everyone to participate, but you don't have to share your experience with anybody else. When we do breakout room activities, please remember confidentiality. Whatever someone shares here, we don't repeat outside of here. Let's all be respectful. Let's keep an open mind. Other people may have different opinions than us, and that's okay. And of course, I'm also going to ask you to make an agreement to practice the skills daily in your life after the webinar. And we're going to talk about that at the end. I'm going to ask you to kind of set your own goals. So I want to start with a breakout. You've been living with prolonged stress for some years now. All of you, just by virtue of living in Myanmar or by being displaced. So I'd like, what changes do you see in yourself? And I'd like to invite everyone to take a moment to reflect before we do anything. What changes do you see in yourself? How has the stress of these years, the financial uncertainty, the political uncertainty, the security uncertainty, the unpredictability of life, how has that affected you? I want to invite everyone just to take a moment to reflect for yourself. How has this affected you? What are the changes you see in yourself in these recent years? And you might think about it in 4 dimensions: mental changes, changes in your thinking; emotional changes, changes in your emotions; social changes, changes in the way you relate to other people; and physical changes, changes in maybe you have more headaches now. Maybe you've gained weight. So yeah, how has this affected you? What are the changes you see in yourself? And again, if there's something you don't want to share, it's okay. So we're gonna go into breakout rooms. When you're in the breakout rooms, please turn on your camera and your microphone. If you have a lot of background noise, you don't have to turn on your microphone because the background noise is distracting. But please, everyone, turn on your camera. It's not nice to be in a breakout room with other people who have not turned on their camera. If your signal is too weak, or if you can't turn on your camera, please let the other people know that. Tell people in some way, because it's just not a great experience. And I want to encourage everyone to not give advice. We're not here in our role as counselors. We're not here in our role as advisors. We're just here as people today. So please don't give advice. In fact, this is an opportunity to practice just deep listening. Just listening to other people. And if you have a lot of empathy, you can imagine you're sending metta, right? That you are listening and breathing out metta for the other person. But we don't have to act. We don't have to try and fix somebody else in this webinar. Okay? So I am now going to create some breakout rooms. Let's see, there are 28 of us. Would the co-hosts like to go into the breakout rooms? 𝐿𝐿, would you like to go to a breakout room?
Yes. Yeah, 𝐿𝐿 will we do that? How many minutes do we need?
I think the quickest way is for me to do it.
Right.
All right. So there'll be about 4 people per room. And again, when you get in the room, turn on your camera, and you're gonna have 10 minutes. You're gonna have 10 minutes in your room. Please make sure to turn on your camera, say hello, and share that question I just asked you. How have these years of stress affected you? What are the changes you see in yourself? Okay? All right.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Van, just want to say hi. I just greeted in my team and we'll keep in touch. Thank you for inviting. Have a lovely training.
Thanks, Agnes. I'm sorry you won't be able to join the whole training.
Sorry. Bye-bye.
See you.
See you.
Okay. Welcome back. I'd like to invite you to share in the chat anything you noticed, anything that struck you when you were listening to the conversation in your breakout group. What did you notice of listening of your own sharing and listening to other people share? What? You had to summarize what you heard in your group. What would your summary be?
I think, may I speak right now?
Sure. Please go ahead, Dr. 𝐤𝐿𝐬.
Yeah. What I noticed for in our room is we all have our own awareness to ourselves. When we become stressed, what happened to our body, mind, and the other issue we deal with, like a social issue, something like that. So it means we know ourselves very well, but we still trying to struggle how to overcome it time to time. Yeah.
Yeah, so people have a good self-awareness, but don't always have a tool to deal with what's going on.
Sure, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tita Lynn shares the common things are everyone try to cope with the challenges in their own way, right? And that there's an impact, physical, mental, and social. Dr. Edda writes, after struggle, most of us notice that we've developed a resilience or had a resilience you weren't aware, that you didn't appreciate. I think people have a lot of resilience. And Het writes, becoming more resilient through the years and still growing through ups and downs. Masu wrote, at the start of 2020, we were very panicked, but after facing many obstacles and uncertainties, we become very resilient. Most of us have common affecting symptoms such as feeling insecure and unsafe about political news and issues, changes in weight, either weight gain or weight loss. Thank you, Sule. Okay. Yeah, so increased anxiousness. Momo says most of us have anxiousness, physical pain, easy to get angry, less patience. We're all faced with struggles. Tin Kolat is saying we're all faced with struggles after the crisis. We have different kinds of stress symptoms, right? Great. Great. Yes, I'm very articulate. Appreciate the sharing. So let's take a look into this, because I think what I want to do is I want to start with just a foundation of looking at ourselves as human beings versus judging ourselves. Because sometimes when we have stress reactions, for example, just going back, when we gain weight, as Sule said, or when Momo said, when we become more impatient, we may have a tendency to judge ourselves or criticize ourselves. Like, why am I like that? Why do I respond this way? So it can be really helpful if we have a frame of understanding ourselves as normal human beings, especially I don't know about you, but as a psychologist, and having been trained as a psychologist, I was trained in a way to look at people as normal and abnormal. So I was trained in a way to pathologize, to look at things and say, well, if you have symptoms, you're not normal. But actually in this situation, most people are responding in a normal way. And I want to talk about that. Also, thank you. There's a link in the chat box for the Telegram group. Everyone who's physically here in the webinar is invited to join this Telegram group. Please don't share that link, right? It is for this group of people who are attending the webinar and who are learning and practicing the skills together. Other people hopefully will have a different opportunity at another time. But okay, let me share my screen again. I always have a little trouble with this. Okay. There we go. All right. And of course, there can be a lot of intense reactions that we're gonna talk a little bit about. People can become hopeless or helpless. And this is not even, this does not include trauma. People can feel like their future, young people especially or anyone might feel that their future has been lost. People spend a lot of time on social media. They spend too much time on social media. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And we see it's so normal, it's so natural to see a lot of frustration and anger and a lot of rumination and worrying. So I want to talk a little bit about this. I really, because again, I feel like as a mental health professional, and this is something I share with everybody, my students, my trainees, my clients, we need to understand ourselves as human beings. We don't have to be a doctor to do that. It's not that complicated, right? Just to understand ourselves as human beings, to understand, because all of us have a brain and a nervous system and a body, and it behaves in very specific ways. And if we just understand it, we can really learn how to take good care of ourselves. So, you know, one of the things we need to understand, and we don't have to remember these names, we just understand there's two systems in our body. And in this webinar, we're going to talk about these two systems over and over. I will be sharing a copy of these. I will be sharing a PDF with you in a few minutes. So don't worry about needing to have a copy of the slides. I'll share that in the chat box the next time I have a chance. All we need to remember is there's two systems, and we don't have to use fancy terms, right? There's an action system, and that's how I talk about it with people, because we don't have to make it complicated, right? There's a system, and many of you know we call it the fight, flight, or freeze system. We don't have to always talk about that. There's an action system. It's a system that gets our body ready for action. And there's another system, which is like a rest and recharge system, which helps our body to recover energy and to regain energy. Our body, our energy is a renewable resource. It can be renewed, and we can keep going on. So we have one system to take action, and we have one system to rest and recharge. So I want to focus on the action system, because of course this is the stress system. This is the system, and again, usually in English we refer to this as the fight or flight or freeze system, and I'll talk about that a little bit. And this is the system. It operates a little bit like the accelerator on a car or a motorcycle. If you press the accelerator on a car or motorcycle, the engine goes. So this system is automatically and instantly activated whenever we feel threatened. And it's in our body. Remember, we're not imagining these reactions. These reactions are happening in our physical body. As we all know, we have experience with this every day. So if we perceive a threat, it stimulates that system. And the threat could be we're stuck in traffic. The threat could be we're at the office. We're at the office and it's rainy season, and we see that it's starting to rain, and we think, oh my God, it's going to take so long to get home now. Or, the threat could be I look at my smartphone and I see there's a message from my cousin, and I think, okay, what does my cousin want? Do they want to borrow money again? What is it about now? Right? Or, I get a page and someone says, okay, now everyone has to go serve in the military. That we get information, we hear rumors, and then we feel we have a reaction. So I want to separate three kinds of stress. There's a kind of basic stress. We have a reaction. We're able to address the issue and resolve the problem. And then the stress system goes back to normal. The foot is off the accelerator. The body stops feeling the threat. There's two other types of stress that are more relevant here, which is chronic stress, when we can't solve the problem today, or we can't solve the problem this week, so we stay in a state of threat. And this happens to people all over the world. We have problems of chronic stress all over the world, where people are, because of their jobs or their families, or during COVID, people feel stressed and they can't solve the problem immediately, so they maintain in a state of mild to moderate stress constantly. And it's really unhealthy for us. And lastly is this kind of level of crisis stress. If we don't just feel like I'm going to be late going home, or I'm going to have an inconvenience or a hassle, but I feel I'm not safe, that there's danger and I'm not safe, or people I love or people I care about are not safe. And then the action system can be like an accelerator that is pressed all the way down and just stay there all the time. And this is really not good for us. And again, I think all of you know what this feels like. The stress response is amplified by these 4 things. So number 1 is danger. If we feel that there is danger, we are not safe, we have the strongest level of response. Also, these 3 things, uncertainty, uncontrollability, and unpredictability. So when we feel like we don't know, that tends to feel threatening to us. Unpredictability, when we feel like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I don't know what will happen next week. This tends to feel quite threatening to us. When we feel something's uncontrollable, we can't control it. We want to be able to influence it or control it. When we feel we can't do that, that tends to be stressful for us. So, or if we feel like we don't know what's going on, just uncertainty. So this is, we have to, you'll notice that the bottom 3 are different because the danger is danger, right? When if we're in danger, if someone's knocking on our door or we know that we're not safe, that's the presence of danger. The other 3, uncertainty, uncontrollability, and unpredictability, as you'll see, are psychological to some degree. They have to do with where we are focusing our attention. And this, of course, is going to be key to understanding how do we act resiliently. So let's just take a look for a moment at the brain, because it's so interesting to think about this through the lens of your brain. Because remember, and I think many of you know this, and again, we don't have to use fancy vocabulary. We really don't. Many of you know this. We have a part of our brain that's like the executive in our brain, the executive in our company. If you have an executive in a company, they make decisions, they do planning, they talk to people, they coordinate action. So you have an executive in your brain that does your planning and your problem solving and coordinating your actions, right? That's here in orange. You also have a kind of lower brain functions that's kind of lower, deeper in the brain. It's represented here in green. That's where your emotions live. Your fear, your anger, your intense sadness or despair. They kind of live down there in the green part. Now, when life is going well, everything in the brain is interconnected. There's no part of the brain that's separate. They're actually all super, super interconnected. There are more connections in the brain. According to neuroscientists, there's more connections in the brain than there are stars in the sky. It's a lot of connections. So usually, these 2 parts of the brain are talking to each other. They are working harmoniously together most of the time in daily life when we are not stressed. However, when the action system is triggered, they progressively stop talking. And when we get into high levels of stress, especially prolonged stress or crisis stress, the logical part of the brain, the executive, goes home. The executive stops working, and the emotions take over. So this can be, and this is really, so first of all, this is normal, but it's not good for us, especially when we have to deal with a situation of prolonged stress that can go on for months or years. So, the summary is that the emotions take over. Even our thinking is driven by emotion, and I want to talk about that. We have a lot of impulses to act, and if we're not able to act, we will spend our time looking for information, right? We'll spend our time, as we know, a lot of people, we're going to talk about doom scrolling, right? Doom scrolling is a poor coping strategy because we're not able to take action. Some people get into paralysis. Some people are affected by this kind of freeze response. Remember, we talk about fight, flight, or freeze, where they're stuck in kind of indecision or inaction. This is also a kind of normal response for some people. There's another effect that we don't pay enough attention to, and that's very important, that psychologists call the narrowing of attentional focus. And this is really important, and it has to do in when we are at rest, we are able to see a big picture. We're able to see what's going on in our life. As we get more and more stressed, our attention becomes narrower and narrower. And there's an easy way to understand this. Let me invite everyone to put your hands up by the side of your eyes like two doors, open doors. Now look around. This is your brain. This is your brain. You can see the whole picture. You can see the whole room. But I want you to start to close your hands like two doors closing. This is what happens when the stress system is activated. Now stop here. Just stop right here and look around the room again. You notice your view is limited. This is a medium level of stress or chronic stress. We can still see, but our view is limited. Now I want you to close your hands all the way. Just leave a little, right? Just to leave like a little hole, and now look around again. Look around. See how your view is limited. Right? Now think about anger. Remember a time when you were angry. When you get super angry, you can put your hands down. When you get super angry, you only think about the person you're angry at or the situation you're angry at, right? Your mind is in this state. When you become very afraid, you only think about the thing that you are afraid will happen, right? Your mind is in this what we call the narrowing of attention or losing perspective. And this is normal. It is normal when our stress system gets activated. Now, usually, and this is why we get angry at people, we get super angry, we're in this state, we blame another person or we blame a group of people. And then 1 week later, when we're not upset anymore, when our stress system is not activated, we ask ourselves, why was I so angry? What was going on? Because now we see the bigger picture. The funny thing is when we get into this extreme stress, when we get super angry, super afraid, super upset, we know it. We almost always know it. But very frequently, we can be in a state of medium stress where our view is narrow and we don't know it. So usually if we're in this kind of very, this is a point we're going to come back to because this is important for resilience. When we're in this kind of very, sorry, I'm just going to spotlight. When we're in this kind of very narrow view, whatever emotion, we usually know it. But very frequently, we can be in a state of stress where we're not seeing clearly, or we're not seeing the whole picture, and we're not aware of it. We think that our view is clear, but in fact, we're not seeing the big picture. And this is actually very, very normal, even if we're not living in the middle of a kind of civil war. It affects people all over the world. So I'm just sharing my screen again. So of course, we're just talking about how this action system, this fight, flight, or freeze system affects our brain, affects our body, and affects our mental outlook, the way we look at things. As normal human beings, there's nothing abnormal in what I'm describing to you. But what I'd actually like to talk about for a moment is the other system, how we activate the other system. And this is actually, the other system can also be activated, the rest and recharge system. And in fact, we know that we can stimulate the system just by breathing in a certain way. Just by breathing. And let me invite everyone to do this right now. This is just something we call a calming breath. And again, you don't have to do anything special. You do not have to sit in any special way. You do not have to wear any special clothes. You do not have to go to some other special place or into the forest in order to benefit from a calming breath. It's something you could do anywhere, anytime. So I just want to invite you, just let your hands be empty. It can be very helpful if we're not looking at the phone. And just take a look at those words on the screen, just the clouds, just breathe. And just let's breathe for 1 minute, just for 1 minute. So I'm gonna set a timer, and I want to invite you in. Don't worry about breathing in a special way. Just try to breathe in gently and breathe out gently. That's all. Don't ask, am I doing it correctly? Your body knows how to breathe. You can trust your body. Just for 1 minute. Take a few more breaths and just notice how you feel. Just notice if you take, again, and this is just a minute. In fact, let me invite you to share in the chat. Please share. I want to invite everyone to please share one word in the chat. How do you feel after breathing like this for 1 minute? Just one word. Just. Alive and relax, calm, relax, relief, relax. Well, actually, sorry, that's what you just noticed is very important. What you just noticed, Suri, is very important, right? Relax, mind relax, hot, okay. Hot, indifferent. Yeah, and for, thanks, Marlo. You all can see me, right? Okay, sorry, sometimes I lose track of all these windows. So almost everybody notices, even with just 60 seconds, your body shifts, and it's just 60 seconds. And something that's really important to notice here, but some people might not. Everyone's a little bit different. All we're doing is stimulating a system. We're stimulating a system that's built into us to rest. Now, Suri wrote, oh, I just noticed that one of my shoulders hurts. So Suri, what you just experienced is going from this. What you just experienced and shared with us is going from a kind of narrow view to your mind opening up. Your attention, again, it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. It's not a criticism. It's not a weakness. It's part of being human, right? Is that you notice that you're not aware because you're focused. Maybe there's something stressful going on today. But the minute you open up the system a little bit, when the brain starts to talk to itself, the executive starts to talk to the different parts of the brain again, boom, you notice, oh my gosh, my shoulder hurts. Right? So that's that is super important. We're gonna come back to this sense of the breathing. Just want to mention another thing that we call a normal negativity bias. Some of you may have heard of this before, and it's there's a wonderful American psychologist and neuroscientist who's written some really good books to just make this simple, because the research is complicated, but basically the human brain is sticky for negative experiences. That's the bottom line. So he says, Rick Hansen says, and you can follow him on YouTube, you can follow him on Instagram, you can follow him. He has many good videos to learn about these, a lot of interesting resources. The human brain is like Velcro for negative events and Teflon for good stuff. So again, the normal human brain, the way we've evolved, is the brain is more sensitive to negatives and less sensitive to positives. Now, human beings knew this thousands of years ago. In the 2,500 years ago, or a little bit longer, in the Hindu epic, the Bhagavad Gita, there's actually a quote in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says to Arjuna, for those who have trained their mind, it is their friend. For those who have failed to do so, the mind works like an enemy. So these are things that were recognized in many cultures thousands of years ago. Now we understand the neurobiology of it. So, the examples of this, especially in this situation, are that we would tend to focus more on the pains and hurts than notice the pleasant moments or the happiness. Our brain may have a tendency to be very self-critical, especially when we're stressed, especially when we get into a more narrow view. We may have a lot of negative predictions about the future, anticipating problems and conflicts or bad things happening. We also may have some kind of inflexible expectations. Those would be examples of this effect of this negativity bias. So when you're living through a crisis, it's like a triple burden, because the body's constantly in a state of chronic or crisis stress without being able to rest. And the situation has these elements of uncertainty, uncontrollability, and unpredictability. And it's magnified by this normal human negativity bias. So, and as you know, this has a bunch of effects. Oops, sorry, there's a slide. Oh. Okay, hold on just a second, please. I need to stop my share. Oops, I think my... I'm sorry, there is a technical issue on this side of things. Can you all still see me?
Yes, you can see
Okay.
it.
All right, my computer just froze. Oh my heavens. Oh my goodness. I apologize. I'm just going to take a breath. And let's see what happens if I share my screen. Okay, that isn't going to work. So you all are seeing a mess on the screen, is that correct?
That's right, Ben.
Okay. All right.
Take your time. Well, if you have,
So while we do that, let's do another breakout. Let's do another breakout with the same group where you can talk about, because many of you feel like you've discovered resilience or you've realized your resilience. What do you do? What do you do that helps you be more resilient? What supports your resilience? What are your resilient behaviors? And I'm going to write that question in the chat. So that's the question for this breakout. I'm going to send you to the same group as a breakout, this time for 8 minutes, so that you have a chance to share with each other. And then maybe for each group, you can make a list that you can put in the chat when we come back, so we can share that. Okay. What supports your resilience? What are your resilient practices? Okay. Please enjoy your discussion while I work out my technical issues. Those of you who are still here, I'm going to send you out to groups. 𝐶𝐞𝐢𝐬, I'm trying to assign you to a group, but it doesn't seem to be working. What group? Do you remember what group you were in, 𝐸𝐤𝐻𝐈?
No, I don't remember my
Okay.
group.
All right. Well, I was trying to send you into a group, but I guess maybe your connection's not strong enough.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to be back in just a minute. You can go ahead and mute again. Yeah, thank you. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. I'd like to invite each group to write in the chat. What are the resources people in this training have been using? What are the behaviors that people find supports their resilience? Can we get a please go ahead. Thank you, room 6. Self-care and me time, building acceptance, hope for the future, focusing on physical build and satisfy with improvement, try new things, new hobbies, having empathy. Okay. How about the other groups? Thank you. A great summary, 𝐖𝐞𝐛. And of course, I apologize for mispronouncing people's names. So he writes, in our group, we have different skills like taking a rest, setting a routine, spending time with pet and beloved ones, helping others, focus on daily activity, try to be in the present, self-care, gratitude, journaling. That's setting goals, journaling, doing physical exercise, walking, doing something enjoying like cooking, reading motivation articles, accepting reality, mindfulness, acceptance, rest, learning new things. Brilliant. Meditation, mindfulness practices, reading, talking to someone you feel safe, rest, walking and exercise, talking to someone, journaling, learning something new, learning to accept, thought reframe. That's an advanced skill. Focusing on solutions, mindfulness practice, body scanning, journaling, reflection. So I hope everyone's starting to notice some common elements here that are useful for people across. And this is great. And I assume you guys are showing a lot of resilience. Because what I want to do is give you a framework to put that in before we go take our break. Before we take a brief break, let me, I think I've worked out my technical issues. So let me try sharing my screen and see what happens. Microsoft PowerPoint, share. So, as we were already, there's a set of things that just come up over and over again. A set of things that come up over and over again in these 4 areas. Especially, I've highlighted in yellow the ones that can be the most difficult for people to deal with and that really indicate like a level of stress that we need to work on. So in the physical domain, that's sleep problems. Because research shows that sleep makes us resilient. If we can get enough sleep, we will have our energy and our resources. And of course, our bodies will manifest stress through muscle aches, stomach aches, headaches, shoulder pain, back pain, neck pain, hip pain, and stomach and digestive problems. The stomach and digestive system are very sensitive to stress. And then, of course, mentally, we have helplessness, poor judgment, and worry, and not being able to focus, and negativity. And on the emotional side, for many people, we have irritability, short temper. Some of you already mentioned these things, hopelessness, sadness, or apathy. And of course, on the behavioral side, the behaviors that are kind of problematic are paralysis, isolation, and the opposite of paralysis, impulsivity, acting without thinking, and poor health behaviors like smoking, drinking, eating. For some people, drinking alcohol, using drugs. So I think these are things you already knew. I want to emphasize helplessness, because moments of helplessness are something we really want to focus on, because it's really bad for us. Helplessness is a psychological toxin. It's damaging to us. So it can be a normal reaction when we're in a situation where we feel overwhelmed, and it can lead us to being helpless or freezing, having a feeling like there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I can do. When we start to feel that way, or when people close to us start to feel that way, we have a lot to offer ourselves and other people. And we have to deal with the feeling of feeling unsafe, right? Because that creates the highest level of stress. So I'm going to skip over some of this. So resilience is the ability to cope with challenges and to restore balance. So you all have already used resilience. And it's important because it helps us adjust to change, persist when facing difficulty, recover from setbacks, and cope with crises. Now, there are two places where resilience comes from. Resilience is a set of skills that can be learned and practiced by anyone. I'm going to say this is so important, I'm going to say it again, because some people will only listen to the next point. Resilience is a set of skills that can be learned and oopsie daisies, sorry about that. Set of skills that can be learned and practiced by anyone. Some people do naturally have more resilience. This is the case. That is the case, and it has to do with stress reactivity. Some people have stronger reactions to stress and threat than other people. Some people are low reactors. So, for example, in certain professions, you need these low reactors. Like the people you hire to be your airline pilot are people you want to have like a low reaction to stress. Or the people who are operating in jobs of great pressure. But I want you to know that my personality profile, I am a person who has very strong reactions to stress. I'm not in a group of people who are naturally resilient. And my personality profile, when I take personality tests, it shows this, that I am very reactive to stress. And I know it from my experience. I'll share some other examples as we go through the course. But I feel I am a resilient person, and I have resilience because I practice resilience skills. So my temperament, my biology is not my destiny. And of course, I like the little girl here. I think it's really important that we think about resilience like a garden. It's like a garden. And if you take care of your garden, if you water it and weed it and take good care of it, the garden will grow. Our resilience, these skills are the same way. If we take good care of them, and if we practice them, and if we're diligently practicing little by little every day, we will build our resilience. So this is the model of resilience that I want to share with you, and that I want to practice when we come back from our break. So we're going to say that there are 5 kinds of resilience resources, and you can look at your own list that you were just using. And we're going to say emotional resilience, social resilience, mental resilience, physical resilience, and spiritual resilience. One is not better than, oopsie daisies. One is not better than the others. Now, there is a foundation of all of this, which is being able to be grounded in the present moment. And we're gonna talk more about that. Being able to be grounded in the present moment is the foundation of being resilient. And some of you mentioned when we were talking about these, one of you summarized Dr. 𝐖𝐞𝐛𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐫, if I'm correct in my memory. Dr. 𝐖𝐞𝐚𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐫 summarized that we have a lot of awareness. We have a lot of awareness. And that's what we're talking about. Because when we're grounded in the present moment, we're able to be aware. And we're going to talk about how do we ground ourselves in the present moment as a foundation for resilience, for being able to build mental, physical, social, emotional, and spiritual resilience. But if I look at your lists, I see all of those things, and you can start to do a self-assessment already, looking at your own resilience. What's your tool for physical resilience? What's your tool for social resilience? What's your tool for emotional resilience? Okay. How long should we take for our break?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Oh,
10 minutes.
well, let's take at least 10 minutes.
Okay.
Let's take, yeah, because I'm gonna run over. I can already tell you that right now. I am behind. But okay, so let's take a 10-minute break. It's let's see. Yeah, let's come back in 10 minutes.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
See you.
Okay. Welcome back. Okay. So I just want to take a quick poll. I've just shared the PowerPoint slides in the chat for those of you who would like a copy. But again, yeah, I would like to take a quick poll before we go on, because I am about 45 minutes behind where I would like to be. So how many of you, I want to take a poll to find out how many of you have to leave at 4 o'clock. How many of you have, so please type a 1. Please type a number 1 in the chat box if you must leave at 4 o'clock. You have other commitments and you're not able to stay past 4 o'clock. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for that. Again, if you don't need to anade, if you have to leave at 4 o'clock, please type a 1 in the chat. So we'll lose about 25% of you minimum at 4 o'clock. Okay. All right. All right. So I think what I'll probably do is just maybe we'll do some Q&A at 4 o'clock, but I'm not going to run over. If I have something extra I want to teach, I'll teach it on the 30th as we have agreed. All right, so let's dive in. So I'm working in this, we're working in this model of resilience with these 5 dimensions based on a foundation of grounding in the present moment. In the context of this model, there are many, many different skills. I would say here in Thailand, we recently produced a resilience deck, a deck of cards for the 5 dimensions, one of these things that people can use to help them in their daily life. And in that deck of cards, there's 55 different skills across the 5 dimensions. I have selected skills that I think are appropriate for dealing with a prolonged crisis. Although, so I'm not going to mention many wonderful skills like gratitude journaling. Gratitude journaling is in the deck of cards. It's a fantastic practice, but I'm not going to mention it today. Just because I don't mention something or it's not in the notes, it doesn't mean it's not a good skill. The selection I have made is because our time is limited. I'm going to share my screen again and pray. Okay. So we're working in this model. Where the emotional skills focus on noticing and managing our emotions. Mental skills is about managing our thinking, outlook, expectations, and attitudes. The physical is focusing on our body and helping our body rest and recharge. Social is focusing on our connection with others. And spiritual means, kind of, to put it in a very simple way, it's focusing on a big picture. We'd say a picture that kind of transcends our daily concerns. That tends to be what spiritual things are like. So now I want to talk about the skills, and I want to practice a bunch of these skills together. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about grounding in the present moment and what is grounding. And again, if you don't like these words, if you would like to use a word like centering or anchoring or present moment awareness, the words aren't that important. But the idea is that we can really, because you'll notice that when our mind is doing this, I hope everyone can see me at the moment. When our mind is doing this thing where our attention narrows, what's typically happening, and it's so important we appreciate this, what's typically happening is our mind is doing one of three things. A, our mind is running away into the future, right? And imagining like, what are all the things that can happen in the future and how am I going to deal with them? Or obsessing about one thing. Two, our mind is kind of lost in the past, right? Going over the past again and again and again about some regret or some anger or some mistake we feel we made. Or three, our mind is kind of lost in evaluations and judgments about what's happening now. But I'm not really present when I'm lost in this. I may not notice that, oh, I'm tired or my stomach aches or I'm upset. I may not have that present moment awareness. So grounding is about bringing the purpose of grounding, which is the starting point of resilience. It's about bringing the mind back to the present moment. And it's something that temporarily clears the mind. And that's very useful. Notice it's temporary. The mind will, you don't stop being human. You don't ever stop being human. So your mind will constantly go back to being a human mind. So now let me ask you, because many of you have mentioned this, let me ask you if you could share in the chat. What are the things you do to bring your mind back to the present moment already? The things you're already doing, because I think some of you already have what I would call grounding techniques. I think that some of you already have something like that. What do you do that helps you be aware in the present moment? Please feel free to write in the chat. Dr. 𝐏𝐿𝐿, knowing the five senses. Yeah, the five senses are a good place. The deep breath, deep breathing, focus on the five senses, body scan, five senses. Okay, so everybody has a good Vipassana practice of noticing the five senses. Many people purposely bringing my mind back, bring back my mind that was wandering to the future or the past, breathing exercises, touching and seeing the things around, body scanning. Wonderful. Great. So you already know some of the things I'm going to talk about, but it looks like I can also add one or two. The five senses are great because your five senses are always in the present moment. If you look around you and you say, because there's one technique where we ask people to notice five objects. That's a grounding technique. Name five things in the environment. Because if you're seeing something, that's right now. So five senses, and I actually did bring one. No, I brought two from the five senses. All right. So we're going to start. So we're going to talk about using the breath. feeling our connection to the earth, movement and stretching the body, and then we're going to use touch and savoring. And it's useful. We're going to talk about more on March 30th. It's very important to experiment because of two things. Number one, everyone is different. Some grounding that works for me may not work for 𝐓𝐢𝐿𝐵, and some grounding that works for 𝐓𝐢𝐿𝐵 may not work for me. Plus, I may be different at different times. The grounding that helps me on Monday, when I'm on my way to work or dealing with work, might not help me at 2 a.m. on Wednesday when I'm lying awake and worrying. I may need I personally might need different grounding techniques at different times, depending on what's going on. So it is really useful for us to practice at least 2 or 3, and we're going to practice 5. But I'm going to do it really quickly. I'm going to do it really quickly. So I've already shared in the chat I've shared the PowerPoints with you in the chat. I have shared this checklist of what we're working on in the chat. And now I'm going to share one more resource with you in the chat, because you'll notice on this slide that there's a reference to playlist 1. So I'm going to share with you a set of playlists, because there's so many wonderful resources, and I'm sure you guys already have a lot of resources that you are using and sharing. This is a set of lists, and what this looks like, the document that I've just shared in the chat is this document. And actually, I'm going to click on one of these links, and I'm going to open up what it looks like. So this is a playlist of techniques on YouTube. That's one of the links that I've provided for you. And we're actually about to practice. We're going to practice this, what's called box breathing. And there's this very cute little, so we're going to practice another breathing technique. We already practiced this calming breathing. Which can be a useful technique. We can do it anywhere, standing, sitting, walking, laying down. You don't have to sit in a special way or wear special clothes, or sit on a special cushion. These are things we can do anywhere, anytime. I personally like the box breathing. I use it whenever I fly. I don't like to fly, and my nervous system has a really strong reaction when I get on an airplane. And if there's turbulence, my nervous system freaks out. My heart rate can go up to like 160 or 170 if there's turbulence on the airplane, which is an unhappy. And it's funny because I don't have bad thoughts. I don't really have my body. It's like I don't go on roller coasters either. My body just doesn't like to be shaken around. So I do this box breathing at moments like that, and also sometimes at other moments if I get super stressed. So we're gonna try this out. And basically the way that the box breathing works is there's 4 sides. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold for 4. So that's why it's called box breathing. If the 4 doesn't feel right for you, do 3 or 2. You adjust it. This is very important. It's a very important principle. Flexibility. You don't, just because somebody on the internet says 4, doesn't mean you do for 4. You find what's right for you. Some of us have different lungs, different sizes, different breathing issues or breath capacity. But the idea is simply to have it be even, whatever you do. Although there's many, many variations. If you look at this playlist, you'll see that. Okay. So I need to optimize for a video clip, because we're going to watch a video clip together of this square breathing. Okay. So we're gonna begin in just a moment. So get ready, sit in any position you like. So you just follow the prompt. Inhale, Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Let's do that for a minute. Okay, and just take a moment to breathe and notice, how do you feel? How does your body react when you do this kind of box breathing for just 1 minute? That really wasn't when you do it for the first time, it may feel a little bit like work, that you have to kind of breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. If you notice anything, please feel free to share in the chat. If you like this one, you may want to practice for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. In the webinar, we don't have enough time to really practice. And remember, this is not a meditation. This is an exercise. Meditation doesn't have a goal, okay? The purpose of this is to bring the mind back to the body. So hopefully, once we learn to do this, we can do this relatively quickly. These grounding techniques are meant to be something that we do for 1 minute, 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Although, if you like a grounding technique, and I'll talk more about this in a moment, if you like one of them, you can expand it and you can do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Because what you find is, you may find that some of them you find really calming. And if you experience that, then it means that if that connects for you individually, that's a good sign. Okay, so those are the different forms of breathing. So now there's a wonderful, no one mentioned this, but this is grounding by feeling the connection with the earth. And you can sit down, you can stand up, you can have your shoes on, but I'm going to bet that most of you already have your shoes off. If you're at home, or if you're somewhere, you may have your shoes off. And all you need to do is maybe sit a little bit at the edge of your chair, sit a little bit, or just so you can put both feet flat on the floor. Both feet are flat on the floor. And if you lean forward, you feel the weight. So close your eyes. Close your eyes and just breathe. Feel the contact of your feet with the floor. If it helps, you should feel free to move your feet a little bit. if that helps you to feel the contact. So just see if you can do that. Feel that contact. And just do that for a few breaths. And then if you like, take a moment to remember that underneath this floor, somewhere, maybe immediately underneath the floor, maybe a little bit 1 meter or 10 meters down, is the earth. So this floor is your connection with the earth. And that you are part of the earth. So visualize, if you like, visualize your feet and the energy of your feet flowing into the earth. So just breathing in. Feeling your energy connecting with the earth. And then as you breathe out, you might imagine that energy is flowing up from the earth into your feet and into your whole body. So breathing in, connecting to the earth. Breathing out, receiving energy from the earth. You are part of the earth, and the earth is part of you. Again, just feeling the contact of your feet and imagining your connection with the earth. Like a tree deeply rooted into the earth. Okay, and again, take a moment and just reflect on that. When you'd practice this kind of grounding, what do you notice? Everyone's different. Some people connect with a visualization. Some people don't. It's okay. But just take a moment to reflect and notice, did that connect for you? And let me invite, if anyone would like to share in the chat. If anyone would like to share in the chat, please. What did you notice when you practice grounding by feeling your connection through your feet with the earth? What do you notice? Wow. Thank you, Marlo. So that really connected for you, Marlo. Masu said, I feel connected to my body. I feel whole. Yeah, this can be a very powerful, kind of grounding. And again, in these coming weeks, I'm going to ask all of you to practice all of these so that you have a sense of the flavor, especially if you are a counselor and you'll be sharing these with other people. It's important for, and there's so many. I'm only teaching you 5 or 6 things. You may actually know others already. Okay. Suri feels a sense of gratitude, right? To be connected. So that, again, it's already, right? It can take us from a kind of narrow space to a big open space, because gratitude is always a big open emotion. Gratitude like bootstraps this sense of being open. We can go from narrow, it's interesting, we can go from kind of narrow psychology to open psychology very quickly with laughter, with genuine laughter, and with gratitude. They kind of reset the nervous system. Thanks for sharing, everybody. Appreciate that. And if you didn't have the same experience, if somehow your mind was wandering and that didn't connect for you, it's okay. It's not a problem. Everyone's different. Let's try another one. I'm sharing my screen again. So this one's different. This one, and this is important because this one is to ground by moving. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. And I want to, so try this one out, because this one, we don't close our eyes, or you certainly can, but this is, and for people who do yoga, or for people who do Qigong or Tai Chi, this may feel familiar, but just take a moment. And you can stand up. If you like, you can stand up. To stay in front of my camera, I'm going to stay sitting down. But just take a moment to breathe. Notice the energy of your body, really keeping the attention in your body. Just begin to do some stretch, like I'm going to bend over at the hip, right? But you go ahead and do something that feels right for you, and just notice, see if you can keep your attention in your body while you stretch. Just feel your body moving. And then hold the stretch for a few moments and notice how your body feels. Here, I'll do a side stretch. Just feel your own muscles. It's okay. And if it doesn't matter what stretch, it doesn't matter. If you like, you can just reach your arms up over your head and just feel your shoulders. Don't do anything that hurts you. And just notice what happens with your mind. And we're going to do this for about 2 minutes. If you like, especially men, some men may like, you can do something more vigorous. If you want to do a squat or do some push-ups, you can just do it in the same way. Do it deliberately. And so you really feel the movement of your body and the energy of your body. And then stop your stretching. And again, just notice. Notice how the energy of your body is. You notice? And how that feels for you. Notice how that energy is and how that feels for you. Reflect on that, make some notes. And again, the idea is that we can kind of reset our mind. We can ground our mind just by taking 1 or 2 minutes to move or to stretch. And again, I think some of you may already be doing this. The last 2 that I want to share with you are a little bit more specific. They're more focused, and they can be helpful. Well, different people like different things. I mean, that's the bottom line. So another trick, especially for many people, the breath won't help them to ground. I want to tell you that straight away. The breath is not useful for many, many, many people. Actually, a majority of people. And so we should always give people other options, and for ourselves too. Some of us are meditators, and if you're a meditator or if you're a yogi and you practice yoga, the breath will work for you because you have spent many hours developing a sensitivity to the breath. So you have that experience already, but for many people it doesn't. So this is very simple. This is the idea of just touch something cold. Some people say, okay, let an ice cube melt in your hand. Hold an ice cube in your hand, but it could be a water bottle. It could be something cold from the refrigerator. But you just put your hand on something cold and you focus your awareness on that for 10 breaths. You feel that cold sensation for 10 breaths. And this helps bring the mind back to the present moment. Actually, we're already, as you can notice, we're already stimulating the rest and recharge system just a little bit. Right? So this can be very quick, very simple sometimes for people. Another one, and you'll notice we're using the sense of touch here. We're using the sense of touch with this one. So it's very specific, very focused. And then we can also savor a scent. We can use our sense of smell because touch and smell are very powerful senses. We used the sense of touch with the feet as well. So to savor a scent, you just find something near you with a scent and you just stop and inhale that scent. So you might, for example, have, I don't know, some oranges in the house, or perhaps you have some jasmine in the house, or something else that you like that aroma. So, and I know someone, a trainee who attended a resilience training, someone who was working in a conflict zone, and she would carry around a scent of lemons in her bag. She had some essential oils that was lemon, and she found that very helpful. Whenever she felt, okay, I'm getting too stressed or she would pull out this lemons, and she just would smell that little bottle of essential oil, to stop and smell for 10 breaths as a way to bring the mind back. So these 5 techniques. Some breathing that works for you. You have calming breath or the box breathing, 4, 4, 4, 4. Feeling your connection with the earth, feeling the soles of your feet and getting your connection with the earth. Through movement, through touching something cold, or through savoring a scent. These can be very good ways of grounding our mind. So now that we've have the skill of grounding our mind, because the idea is that when we ground, we use the grounding as a gateway, as a doorway to do something else. Although sometimes, especially for people who practice more and more, sometimes the grounding itself will be enough. So the resilience skills I want to introduce, and I think that this is probably what we'll just have enough time for, are what we call mental stamina frames and some emotional resilience skills. So the mental stamina frames are mental resilience skills. These are attitudes or ways of looking. And you probably already have, in English, we call them frames. But again, they're just like attitudes, perspectives. One of you already mentioned reframing in the comments. So these are perspectives that help sustain our stamina. Because when we're living in a crisis, we need stamina. Stamina is the energy to keep going. And you might already think, like, what is your frame? What is your attitude? What is the little mantra you tell yourself that helps you to keep going? Because resilient people always have these little techniques. So the one that I like, there's my computer, I hope that's not the same problem again. The one that I really like is keep calm and carry on. Because the idea we have to accept, and this goes back to what you all said about acceptance. We can't control all these risks. Nobody can control what's going on. We need to do our best to stay strong, take action, and keep living. The thing that you're already doing. So you may already have another way of telling yourself this. So I like to think of this as a kind of everyday courage. So we just pause, we practice grounding, and we use a resilience resource. That's the process. This is how we maintain our mental stamina. Pause, practice grounding, use a resource, and then carry on. And we'll talk about the carry on in just a moment. What does that mean? So I want to talk about some emotional resilience skills because these tend to be very useful. And I want to teach you 3 skills that people find very useful. I want to teach you what we call the resilience break, which is basically a skill of emotional resilience. I want to teach you progressive muscle relaxation, which is actually a combination of emotional resilience and physical resilience. And we won't have time today, but in March, I want to teach you a practice called the protective circle of ancestors to help us to feel safe, which is a practice of emotional resilience, physical resilience, and spiritual resilience. We won't because of my poor time management. So I just want to explain what's the purpose of these skills. It's to regulate emotions so that we're calm enough to live our life. We're not getting rid of emotions. We don't have the power to make emotions disappear. And that's not the goal. That is an unreasonable expectation. The goal is to make the emotions manageable and to help increase a felt sense of safety, even temporarily, to help increase a felt sense of safety so that you can rest. And we'll look at these, but that is really what the progressive muscle relaxation is for, and the protective circle of ancestors. So the first skill I want to teach you is called the resilience break. And the resilience break has 3 components: breathing, naming, and embracing. So we say it's the resilience break. I'm going to say BNE. Breathing, naming, and embracing. And I just wanted, so the breathing we've already done. We've already practiced breathing, and it's going to be the same breathing, whatever you like. Now, what's interesting about, we're going to add in another component now that we call naming. Because when we feel an emotion, research now shows us that emotions are energy in the body. They aren't just, we're not imagining our feelings. And usually we feel our emotions somewhere in the center, in our face, in our throat, in our chest, or in our tummy. Many of our strong emotions we feel somewhere in there. There are other places as well. You may feel it in your back, the back of your neck, your shoulders, along your skin. So one of the things that is helpful is to notice, where in my body do I feel this feeling? To breathe in and out one time and to name the feeling. Right now, I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling upset. It doesn't have to be, don't worry if the name is correct. You can even just say, oh, I feel bad, right? You don't have to find the exact particular emotion. It's enough to simply say, or, oh, I'm suffering. It's just enough to notice, to feel it in your body. And there's some links in the links that I've sent you. If you really want to know the neurological details, there's a video on one of those lists where they talk about what is happening in the brain, which I'm not going to talk about. But you just feel the emotion in your body, breathe in and out one time, and name the feeling. And lastly, you do something we call embracing, which means we give ourselves a kind of, it's almost like giving yourself a hug. So right now I want to invite everybody to try this with me. Sit in your chair. Sit in your chair. Take a breath. Notice how the energy of your body is right now. And then bring your hands up. Bring your hands up. And just very gently, like a little butterfly. And if you want to have your camera off, you can have your camera off. It's okay. Just rest your hands on your chest, on your heart space, your breath space, and just breathe. And just notice how this feels. And close your eyes. Like I said, you're welcome to turn off your camera. How do you feel? And if you like, you can even imagine that you want to be a friend. You want to be an ally for yourself. But just feel these hands. You can even imagine, if you like, that these hands are like metta hands, meaning that they're hands that have good wishes for you. They're offering metta. We're going to try a few different postures just to notice. So now, if you like, you can move your hands up to your shoulders. And in fact, like giving yourself a little hug. And just now, whatever feels comfortable. If this position doesn't feel comfortable, feel free to lower your hands. Be flexible. Whatever feels right for you. Don't listen to your nervous system. Listen to your body. Your body will tell you. And you might be squeezing a little bit, or you might not be squeezing at all. It's up to you. It's really completely up to you. And let's try one more. One hand over your heart and one hand over your tummy. That kind of, there's an energy center in your tummy. And it doesn't matter which hand. Not important. Just notice what this feels like. Now I'm going to give you another minute. I'm going to stop talking and you can experiment. Please try these three different postures. Hands over the heart, hands over the chest, giving yourself a hug, one hand over the heart, one hand over the stomach. Just experiment for yourself. What feels nice to you? And then you can stop, but please take a moment to reflect. Please take a moment to reflect. What does your body say when you give it? We call this technique compassionate touch, soothing touch. How does your body respond? Because what we're doing, well, just reflect for a moment. And I'd like to invite everybody to share in the chat. One word. What do you notice when you practice embracing? Probably for many of you, this might be the first time you've done this practice. One word. What does your body experience when you offer yourself kind embrace? Just one word. Safe, comfortable, heal, soothing, warm. For any reason you're not comfortable, you can also write in Bamar. It's sure comfortable, vibrating, you feel energy, connection, calm, brave, self-aware, warmth and healing, sleepy, yeah. Definitely. No. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why you feel sleepy. If we're tired and if we're safe, our body will go to sleep. That's focus. Okay, safe. So all we're doing, and again, I don't want to get into the biology of this, but again, remember those systems: action system, rest and recharge system. This is a technique that stimulates the rest and recharge system. That's all we're doing. And that's why we see almost everyone. This is a human, this is basic biology. It won't work the same for everyone, and people will have different reactions to this. But this is, I'll talk about this a little. Well, I don't think we'll talk about sleep today. We're not gonna get to the physical resilience today. But this is something that I do that helps me to sleep. Right? We can use this. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I use some of these postures combined with some other mental practices to help me get back to the sleep. And it works better than anything I've ever done to help me sleep. So now let's put it all together. Let's put that all together into a resilience break with breathing, naming, and embracing. And we're going to practice. We're going to practice that together. Because we're going to do a practice, again, I want you to feel free to have your camera off. I want you to feel free to have your camera off, because I'm gonna ask you to visualize something stressful. Okay? But it's up to you. If you don't feel like doing that, if you're tired or today's not a good day for you, don't do it. You can practice later. I'm going to share my screen again so that you can see the kind of directions. So let's practice. Okay. So please sit in your chair in a comfortable way. I am going to ask you to visualize a stressful situation. Please, for your practice, so that you can develop your skill, please choose a situation that is just mildly stressful. As a beginner, please do not choose the most stressful thing happening in your life. So mildly, like on a scale of 1 to 10, the level of stress is like a 3 or a 4, at most a 4. So that you can practice and develop a sense of confidence. So I want you to close your eyes and choose a situation to visualize that's been stressing you. If many, many, many situations come up in your mind, just smile and give yourself permission to just choose one. Just one. It's okay. And whatever situation you choose, please begin to visualize that situation. Who is involved? Where does it happen? What's going on? How does it make you feel? Please visualize it enough so that you start to feel some of the energy in your body right now, even in the webinar. How does it make you feel? What are you afraid of? And then release your focus. Release your focus on that. Bring your awareness back and ground in your breath. Just breathe in and out. Feel your body breathing. Feel the breath moving in and moving out. And then notice where you feel this energy in your body. Where do you feel it the most clearly? Is it in your face, or your neck, or your chest, or your tummy? Bring your awareness, or maybe it's your whole body, but bring your awareness to the energy of this feeling. And very gently, just name what you're feeling in a nice way. Oh, I feel angry. I'm feeling afraid. Or maybe you just say, oh, I feel bad. I don't like this. I feel bad. It doesn't have to be a special name. I'm upset. I'm stressed. Just name it. Breathing and naming. Maybe repeating the name to yourself, again, kindly and gently. And then embracing. Bringing your hands up. Again, maybe the hands on the chest, maybe giving yourself a hug, whatever embrace feels good to you. There's no right way, no wrong way. Just embracing this human being. Feeling your breath. Naming what you feel. And embracing. And just staying with that for a minute. Breathing, naming, embracing. And then gently releasing that. Gently releasing that. Taking a few breaths. And again, taking a minute to reflect. How did that connect for you? Feel free to make some notes. Practicing the resilience break for the first time. How did that connect for you? Okay. So that's that practice. That's a practice with these three skills, but the practice we call the resilience break to kind of help us reset when strong feelings come up, when we're stressed. Would anyone like to share in the chat? What did you notice? Or if you'd like to briefly unmute and share what was that like when you practiced that?
So Yes, can I?
Sure, sure.
Yes. Yeah, I chose a situation. It's also kind of like preparing myself for the future situation. And then yeah, after like following your guidelines or what you're saying, and I kind of like reflect back to my previous similar experiences as well, and then become more self-aware that you know, there's a pattern that I feel stressed in those similar situations. But after following that, I feel like this my reactions or the stress that I'm having because of this situation become smaller and less important in my life.
Okay.
And then after a while, I got sleepy, and I feel like, okay, where does that emotion gone? And also that comes to my mind that at the end of the day, this emotion is just for the brief moment, or maybe, you know, if I don't really you know, immerse myself in the situation and give up, I think I kind of can overcome, you know, that those negative emotions. And I think I'm not sure if the sleepiness is helping me as well. Like, you know, I feel sleepy, and then those emotions and the stresses that I have before, you know, what I follow, what you said, become less important, and then also kind of like less severe.
Yeah, so
That's what I got.
Great. Thanks very much for your sharing. And I think that you know, that you really noticed an energetic impact on the energy of the stress and emotion when you did that. And you described that suddenly you went from a narrow focus to a broader focus, where you saw the situation in the context of your bigger life. You saw a kind of broader perspective. So I really appreciate it. And there was many elements to your description, and we don't have time to go into all of them. I appreciate your self-awareness of that. But again, from my perspective, in terms of what's happening in your body and your brain, when you're soothing your body about something that stresses you, and something that stresses us collapses our view, right? Because we're human, and you felt that it opened things up, and you saw things in a different way and more clearly. I felt like you described that. And that's what's happening. This is what happens for us when we stimulate, when we take care of our central nervous system, reduce the action system, and stimulate the rest and recharge system. And thank you. Tita Lin is saying, reduce stress, connect with the present moment. Dr. 𝐖𝐞𝐛𝐢𝐧𝐚, worry, it's found in my heart. Keep, observe, and accept with kindness, together with breath work. Wonderful. Worrying, but when I embrace it, slowly releasing that feeling. I have a really good tool for worry that I want to share with you all, because worry is such a big deal for chronic stress. Great. So let's talk a little bit about how to use this skill, so that you can start using it in your daily life. And I just also want to say really quickly, I want you to treat this like a recipe in a cookbook. And you all know, you know, the first time we make the recipe, maybe we follow the recipe, or the second time, but then after that, you change the recipe. Because maybe you want it sweeter, or saltier, or spicier, or less, or whatever. When you make it at home, you should feel free to have this authority about this practice. Maybe you feel like the breathing doesn't do anything for you, but the naming and the embracing really connect for you. That's okay. You make the recipe your way. Or maybe you feel like the embracing really connects for you, but not the breathing or the naming. It's okay. I'm teaching you the standard recipe, but when you cook for yourself, when you practice for yourself, you make what's delicious for you. So the way I would like for you to practice this is to see if you can practice. Hold on a second. All right. See if you can practice in daily life when a strong emotion comes up. And what I want to share with you is that this doesn't take a long time, is that when you practice in daily life, if you practice by yourself at home 4 or 5 times, you will be able to do this really quickly. You will be able to do it within 1 or 2 minutes. Please remember, some people sometimes get some idea. The purpose of this exercise, the resilience break, is to manage our emotions and reactions so we can use all our strengths and skills. We are not, it does not make feelings disappear. And if you think, oh, I still feel something, so I did it wrong, that's a misunderstanding. It's a misperception. It's not about making feelings disappear. It's about making them manageable and opening up a bigger view. Also, of course, it doesn't solve the problems itself. It helps bring out our strengths. So the kind of principle is to restore your internal balance first and then resolve the problem. Because when we make decisions or try to solve problems and we are not in balance, then our judgment and our thinking and our seeing are not that good. So that's the purpose of the resilience break using BNE. And then, of course, if you're not sure, what do? You just do the next thing. Go back to that mental stamina frame number 1. Which it means you just ask yourself, okay, if you practice it, you ask, okay, what do I need to do today? What can I do today? And then just do the next thing. So that's very important. So now I want to talk about progressive muscle relaxation. Just out of curiosity, let me ask you, if you have ever practiced progressive muscle relaxation before, can you please type 1 in the chat? This is a progressive muscle relaxation is tensing and releasing muscles. Some people have practiced passive muscle relaxation where you imagine relaxing your muscles. This is different than that. Okay, so a few people have some experience with it. Great. Oops. So basically, progressive muscle relaxation is an exercise where we tense and release muscle tensions. We tension our muscles and we relax our muscles. I want to talk about this because PMR research, it's one of the most effective behavioral skills we can practice. It really helps to create, it deactivates the action system and it empowers the rest and recharge system. And the research about this is one of the most effective skills that we can teach. And we can do it across the whole body. So it's very simple. You can be sitting in a chair or laying down, and we close our eyes and direct attention into the body. And we want to follow the instructions, but we focus attention on our own body. So I'm gonna guide you right now, into a very short, but I just want to show you what this looks like before we practice. So I want to give you an example of what, just a slice, and then we're going to practice together for 10 minutes. Okay? So, and there's many different ways of doing this. If some of you are interested in the Telegram group, I will share additional resources about PMR, because I think that, and especially and we'll talk about this more on the 30th, if you're a counselor working with traumatized people, I teach every single trauma client PMR. It is an essential component of trauma treatment. Anyway, okay, so let me see, I need you to see me. So let's just do the forearm. Let's just start with the forearm. So take a breath and notice, hold up your right arm and just feel your right forearm. Just notice your right forearm right now. Just notice how it feels. Now, please flip your hand up. Notice how the tension in your forearm changes. You will be feeling tension along the top. You may start to feel tension on the underside. You may feel something in your wrist. Notice how as you hold this, the tension is increasing. And the tension is getting greater in your forearm. And now release that. Let your arm go down. Keep your attention. Notice how your forearm feels relaxed. Notice the difference. Notice the difference between the tension in those muscles and the relaxation of the muscles. So this is the basic exercise. I am going to guide you through a brief PMR practice using a small number of muscle skills. I'm going to try and do this in 6 or 8 minutes. We're going to do the face, the neck, the shoulders. We'll do the arm. We'll do the arms. We'll do the tummy. We'll do the legs. You won't be able to see me, so I'll try and describe it. Okay? Now, like I said, PMR, and again, PMR is also really good for people who can't sleep. But we'll talk about that. So we begin. Just take a breath. Notice the energy of your body right now. This is the before. This is your before picture. Pre-test and post-test. Before and after. So just notice the energy of your body right now. And again, if you will feel more comfortable, please feel free to turn off your camera. That's fine. Close your eyes. And now, bunch up all the muscles of your face, your mouth, your nose, your eyes. Scrunch all those muscles. Like you just had something sour. Press your lips together, wrinkle your nose, press your eyes together. Feel the muscles of your face. Feel how the tension's getting greater. Now release it. Just let those muscles go limp. Notice the difference. Notice how the muscles feel when they're relaxed. We're going to do each exercise 2 times. Please do that again. Scrunch up the muscles of your face. Press your lips together. Wrinkle your nose. Press your eyes together. Notice the feeling of tension in your face. Release it completely. Let the muscles go limp. Notice the difference. Notice how the tension drains out. Now we're going to do the neck and shoulders. So push your shoulders up towards your ears. Push your shoulders up towards your ears. Feel the tension in your shoulders and your neck. Feel the tension increasing, and now release it completely. Notice how the muscles feel. Notice the difference between tension and relaxation. When you do this exercise, if anything hurts, if anything's painful for you, don't do it. Let's do the neck and shoulders again. Push your shoulders back up. Push your shoulders back up. Feel the tension in your shoulders and your neck. And now release it completely. Release it completely. Notice the sense of relaxation. Let's do the right arm. Raise up your right arm in front of you. Make a fist. Make a fist. And now tense all the muscles in your right arm. Make all the muscles in your right arm tense. Feel the tension. And then release it. Just let your right arm go limp. And just notice the difference between tension and relaxation. We'll just do the arms once each. Now do the left arm. Hold up your left arm. Make a fist. And tense up your left arm. Tense up your forearm, tense up your bicep, like you're showing off your muscles. Feel the tension in your left arm. Notice how the muscles feel when they're tense. And now release it. Just let it go limp. Notice the tension draining out. Notice how the arm feels when it's relaxed. Take your awareness down to your tummy. Now tense up the muscles in your tummy, like contract all the muscles in your tummy. Make your belly hard. Feel the tension there. Sorry, it's hard for me to guide what I'm doing. Feel the tension in your tummy. And now release it. Release it completely. Let the muscles be soft. Do your stomach again. Tense the muscles in your stomach. Make the muscles really tense and hard. Notice how the tension feels. Keep your awareness there. And then release it. Let the tension drain out. Now let's do the left leg. If you're sitting, lift up your left leg so your left leg is out in front of you, parallel to the ground. Just lift it up and hold it out in front of you. And you'll feel the tension. You'll feel the tension in your thigh. You'll feel it in your hamstrings. You'll feel it a little bit in your calf. You point your toe at the ceiling. Just feel the tension in the muscles of your leg. Feel the tension in your thigh. And then release it. Let your foot swing down. Notice how the leg feels. Relaxed. And now the right leg, if you're sitting in the chair, swing your right leg up and point your toe at the ceiling. Swing your right leg up and feel the muscle tension. Feel the tension in your thigh. Feel the tension in your foot, getting below your knee. Notice the tension's increasing. Swing it down, relax it. Notice how the muscles relax. And now take a breath, scan through your whole body. Notice how your whole body feels after you do some progressive muscle relaxation. Okay. Open your eyes. Now, that was what we call a brief PMR routine. It was about 8 minutes. If anyone would like to share, please type in the chat after doing 8 minutes of PMR, what did you notice in the before and after? What did you notice before and after? And if you didn't notice anything, nothing. Some people might have noticed nothing. Some people might have felt like, oh, now I'm ready to go to sleep. So this is yeah, what did you notice when you do some brief PMR? Momo says decreased body tension. It's ironic, isn't it? By doing this thing where we intentionally tense the muscles, it actually releases tension. This was discovered by a guy named Edward Jacobson at Harvard in 1929. And he was a physiologist. He wasn't a psychologist. Some load of tension decreased, felt lighter. Now my ache on my shoulder is gone. Well, that's nice. Well, this is not physical therapy. And in fact, there are certain PMR things I don't do because I have some problems with my neck. So there's some exercises. Okay. So yeah, so, and like I said, in the Telegram group, I'm going to share you more resources. I've actually already given you some resources because if we, Sandra said, before my heart beat so fast and my body felt so tense, after that I felt relief, calm, and relaxed. Wonderful. Well done in your practice, Sandra. That means your practice was effective. So, you know, a full PMR routine is usually we start with a scan. We start with a scan, and I basically did that here. Then we do the face, neck, shoulder, arms, chest, stomach, buttocks. We really try to do the big muscles, and the buttocks are important. I didn't do them, but they're big muscles. So it's important to like include them. Then the right leg and right foot and left leg and left foot. And then you finish with a body scan. So the length of the routine depends on the number of muscle groups that you use. So I would say that your PMR can range from 5 to 8 minutes to an hour long. So for example, for people who have flashbacks, for people who have intense fear, panic, or anger, PMR routine of 5 or 8 minutes can be very, very good. If you use this for sleep, and frequently we use it for sleep or nightmares, the minimum length should be 25 or 30 minutes and up to 45 minutes or 1 hour, depending on the person. So now if you want to practice with this, and I'm sorry, if anyone knows about Myanmar, Bamar language resources to do this kind of PMR, not just guided relaxation, but this kind of PMR, please share them with the group so that we all know about them. But if I'm going to show you an English language resource, if you don't mind, in the App Store, you can download this app. Sorry, wrong screen. Not WhatsApp Messenger. Hold on a second. It's called PTSD Coach. And it's a, hold on. Share screen. App Store. Okay, here we go. No. Here it is. All right, I got it right. Okay, so this was developed by the U.S. government for soldiers. This is a really great app. It's called PTSD Coach. There's a ton of resources in here for soothing and calming, and there's a really, really good brief PMR routine in this app. It's free. Anybody can download it and use it. There's also in the document I've already shared with you, in the document that I've already shared with you, this document, the playlist number 2 is progressive muscle relaxation exercises that you can try and practice with. Because if, you know, so that you can get a feel for it, you should try the one I recommend the PTSD coach, and I'm not recommending this for PTSD because you have to know how to do the whole therapy. But PMR is useful for a range of tensions and when people don't feel safe. Now, everyone in Myanmar is living in a situation where you have the experience of not feeling safe or people being worried about people near you, which also makes us feel unsafe. So PMR, I think, is something very, very useful, especially where sleep is concerned. As I say, so in the PTSD coach, there's a 6 or 8 minute PMR routine that you can practice in your daily life. You can check out the ones on YouTube as well. And as I said, in the Telegram group, I'm going to share some other resources and scripts for those of you who'd like to practice it. Because especially if you want to share it with other people, you need to, PMR is one of these things where you really need to have practiced for yourself. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I am going